Hey, what's going on, everyone? It's David Palmer and Leo King here at highvibe.tv for After Dark, the spiritual talk show. We are here on September the 24th of 2019. And if you've never checked out highvibe.tv before, make sure that you check it out. It's an awesome network, all about spirituality, of course, and we've got tons of awesome content on there, free content and exclusive content for you. Make sure that you check it out. We have apps on Roku, Android, iPhone, and of course on Apple TV, and of course our awesome website, highvibe.tv. That's what supports this awesome show to go on the air for you all to spread to people everywhere. And tonight I have my one super special, regular, awesome guest, Sarah Paasch, in the house tonight.
Hello,
What's up?
hello. So much is up. So much is up. I'm feeling so good. Today the Mercury Jupiter is, I'm riding it. I'm feeling it today.
You know what? I think you bring up a good point. Like, of course, you know, it's been a weird day because one, so much has happened like with the news cycle that no matter if you try to avoid it, it's like it tries to pop up about impeachment and then like all this crazy stuff, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm like Mercury Jupitering this whole thing. Like, just like, this is just a bunch of white noise that's trying to distract all people, to suck people's energy in.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at all these positive things right now that are going forward. And I just feel that this is a beautiful Libra time. I love Libra. It makes me remind myself about how much I love Libra season.
What do you love about Libra?
I love that there is, if you just stop, because opposite of Aries, right? It's like not Mars, it's Venus. If you just stop. And today I took a story on my balcony in Marina del Rey, and I just looked at the water, and then there was construction going on. And I said, all right, everybody, just take that noise out, and look at this water, and look at this plant. And I just see so much beauty everywhere, and so much harmony, and like there's peace just waiting at any second for you right now.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah. I like how you said that, the Libra opposite of Aries, the stop, because what came to me was Mars is the only one still rounding out Virgo right now. And that's actually the energy of the mind, is this kind of like, but wait, we got to like make sure we figure this out and like go into this. And there's been this really awesome invitation to be like, like I caught myself like 4 times yesterday where I was like, or I could just like put that down and like chill the fuck out. And today it's just been like, I didn't intuitively was like not going into Instagram, not going into social media. Like I don't even know what's happening. The spirit's been like keeping me busy with other stuff. And I feel like it's that kind of, like let all the things happen over here while you just like enjoy the beauty, or like watch while it's kind of going. It's all happening. Like that's what's really beautiful, is I feel like, man, like this month has been such a clearing, such a like so much closure and endings and completions. And Saturn went direct, but Saturn's nature is to hold on. It's not a fast thing. So it's not like we feel it in the moment. I think it's been this kind of like churning back on. And it feels like this week it's really just like, and now the space is opened and these things are starting to come in, and I'm really hearing the message loud and clear. I was so stoked when I saw your post the other day about the like don't chase things. That couldn't be more clear than ever from guides right now, and that totally plays into Libra, which is ruled by Venus, which is about the ability to attract towards us what we want, right? It's not about the Mars of like assertion, it's about being receptive. And when you do that, like the things that have come in to my life just recently are so random, but so beautiful. And I'm just like, ooh, this is going to get better and better. And I'm going to keep sitting here and doing like the little things I need to do, but like staying out of that game of like, I have to make it happen.
Yeah, because Venus is the one that's always being chased. Like the whole like archetype of like, oh, when she goes into this sign, it's like, oh, and then she comes into this one. And oh, it's like the whole story of the goddess being chased, you know? Reminds me of Pirates of the Caribbean. I had a dream the other night of like, you know, when you go on that ride and you see everybody chasing each other in the circle on the ride, right? Like the pirates are chasing the girls. And they actually changed that one because of, they thought that was very like old school. But now you see like just people chasing people, but there's like that whole notion of the original idea, like the goddess is always being chased after. So step into it. But what's interesting is Libra is a masculine sign. It's not a feminine one. It's the masculine version of Venus, the diplomatic version, which is kind of interesting.
So actually, yeah, because this makes sense. It's intellectual, right? And it's objective. And this is what I've been doing, is like taking out that kind of like lust quality of Venus's nature, like taking out that kind of attraction, and more so it's like me and the divine having these conversations. And so I'll literally be like, all right, if this is meant to come to me, it's going to come by 9:18 p.m. and if it doesn't, like, I'm good. And so this like complete detachment, it's like I'll say what I want, and I'm totally open to the idea that like maybe I'm not supposed to have that. And it's been so funny because I'm making these kind of like contracts with the divine, just like lightheartedly, but like up to the minute it'll like come in. And it's just, it's not even manifestation. It's just like changing the conversation from the human dynamic and like the hormonal, like, yeah, I want that, to like this really beautiful connection to the divine where like I have no fucking idea what it's going to surprise me with.
Yeah, it's like what a diplomat does, right? It's like, you still want to put out like, hey, is this going to show up? Like you put it up, you put the thing on the table, and then do they come to the table to negotiate and be part of it or not? Like that's it. So it's like, put it out there, and if it doesn't show up, like I went through hell last week because I was chasing so many things, putting it on the table and then being like, are you coming to the table? Are you coming to the table? Are you coming to the table? And it was just like, man, I'm just really upset now, and I'm sad, and I'm not feeling good, and this just really sucks.
Yeah.
And then I was like, you know what? Maybe it's just like, okay, this is rejection. And I put up a post about rejection. And then Venus is squaring Saturn right now. And it's so funny to me that I'm like, because of that feeling of that work, I just like don't feel rejection by anything that's not meant to be. Like if you just show up with that. And one thing I love too about Libra is it's not only has it got a really good polish, but you know, if you notice Librans, they dress really good. Anybody with Libra rising or anything, there's always like a quality of like this presentation that's very good. And so they, especially if they're in a good alignment. So it's like if you just present your best case too, it's also the house of law, right? Like it's like you just present your case and hey, it's like that's it. All right. Let's see what happens. And everything that I've let go of that I was chasing that didn't show up, I got like a phone call. Like, what the heck? Like, I haven't talked to you, buddy. Like, one of my buddies called me that I haven't talked to in a while, and he came here and we redid my music studio. I was like, man, I needed to do this anyway, and I've been wanting to. And
so you like literally, it's like stop fighting reality right now, because I think there's so much trying to come in, and I got to be so like direct and honest. There's so much change happening, and this lesson, just as a collective, is stop. Like, where do you fight change? Like, where do you fight your natural evolution? That's like, that is our nature. We change. And right now there's a lot of change, and it's already happened. Like, it's already happened. And now it's a matter of being open to like, all right, what's the next phase going to be? And if you're fighting that change at all, like, how are you adjusting? And that's a Libran thing too, is like, how are you adjusting to this change? Because a part of you is waiting for you on the other side of it. Like, there's like our future self, you know, that's like just sitting there waiting, just like, any time now, like, this shit's great. Anytime you want to join me, anytime you want to stop fighting and like trying to hold on to this thing. Or I also feel like it's, that there's like this, I was stuck in this polarity of feeling like I was certain that something was this or that. And I felt clear, like I felt peaceful with it. But what I found, like just last night, there was these huge, something big moved last night. I don't know what it was, but there was like a huge opening and a clearing in this like, oh shit, actually there's this third way that I never saw coming. And that it was when I finally just accepted, like, it doesn't fucking matter and I don't need to know, that it opened up and revealed itself to me. And it's still only the beginning. Like, it's still like this, I still don't really even know what's going to happen, but I'm clear that like, it's not just so obvious. So if we think something's like so obviously this or that way, it's like, I think the gift is hidden a little bit more.
Yeah. And actually, yeah, I think there's so many gifts with Jupiter. It's like, we get the good part of it. We get Saturn first, which is kind of the accept what's happened and let's move on. okay. But if you're like in the, I'm not accepting and I don't want to move on, Saturn gets pissed. Like he wants to get up the mountain. He's like, I ain't waiting for you either. Even though people think he's the most patient one, he's also actually super impatient when it comes to getting it done. Like if you're not going to, he's opposite of Cancer. Like, oh, you're going to just keep laying in bed? Okay. Like early bird catches the worm, kind of energy, right? So there's that, like, when are you ready to just go? While at the same time learning the patience of, okay, at least I'm showing up for the early bird of the worm, but I'm putting this in the water and I'm waiting to see what shows up. But I think conversation is going to be a big thing because Mercury and Venus are, they've of course come together, but they're really going through it together right now in Libra. And there's all this big Pluto stuff coming up with both of them this week. And so it's like things are going to be revealed, but conversations have to happen. Jupiter's making these great aspects, which are these huge gifts. Tonight I said, the gifts that were always in front of the Christmas tree were the ones that you knew weren't the best. It was always what was behind that Christmas tree that you were waiting for it.
Yes. Yeah. And what I'm thinking of is like, if you think about the transition from Virgo into Libra and you think about from the trine to the square, right? So they made this beautiful trine in Virgo, and Virgo is all about being in service to your work. What is your duty? What is your purpose? What are you here for? And coming home to the self and really being like this beautiful self-reclamation where we cleared stuff out of our schedule. We literally started saying no and just eliminating things. And if you got clear, like if you did the work in Virgo season to reclaim that sense of not just self-worth, but like self-value and self-respect in terms of this is it. Like I gotta trust myself on this. I gotta be clear on this. If you got clear on that, now the squares in Libra are like, okay, it's natural for you to be tested with other people. So now other people are going to come in, they're going to test that, they're going to have pushback. You're going to have this kind of quote unquote confrontation, but the only thing you're being tested on is your clarity within yourself.
Yeah, and I feel like the pushback stuff is usually stuff where there's, I don't know, like really maybe if it's like, is it really that divine? If like, I feel like there's been stuff where it's like there's zero pushback and it's like, this is part of divinity, like go.
What do you mean?
Like, I feel like even though you'd think with Venus square Saturn, it's kind of, there's going to be confrontation, which I think there is. But I also think that because they both are in their home signs and Saturn does love being in Libra, that it's almost like Saturn gives Libra energy a hall pass a little bit. Because he's like, well, that's my vacation house. So I think that there's like this, if it's in alignment right now and it makes sense and the timing's right and all this stuff, it just kind of like, all right, let's go. Like, I'm ready. Saturn's like, let's do this.
Yeah, and a square is more of an internal struggle, right?
Yeah.
It's not an external, like an opposition is more external. And actually, if I just think about my personal experience, the square, like the friction that I'm working through, yes, like there is this ease that's there. If I'm willing to kind of go way back to like the South Node, kind of like reclamation of soul retrieval almost, where it's like, oh, I'm like rewriting contracts that we talked about it last week. Yeah. Like we were doing our virginity shit. But it's literally like, oh, wait. Like the things I'm having to come up in internal struggle against are the stories of conditioning internally that I'm like, it's so clear right now. I'm like, there's like a threat of a sting there, but I'm kind of like, it feels so good and I know my truth so well that I'm kind of like, I don't fucking care. Like I'm gonna go for it. And there's that Saturn support where it's like, good, yeah. It's like a greater justice to the self, a greater relationship to the like deeper contract, the like, there's like a reclamation happening.
Yeah, and I think that reclamation there is a judgment call that has to be made because Saturn wants a decision and Venus likes to weigh things out in a Libra especially, and Saturn's kind of just, I think that's just a square point, is just like, did you choose yes or no, or guilty or not guilty, or right or wrong, or what did you make the choice? And it's like, like you can, but if you just kind of go, no, actually, yes, or no. Oh, okay, great.
And
it's pretty like, okay, easy.
Yeah. But I was noticing, so I made an intention with myself to just not predetermine my yes or no. like through just my own personal experiences and this energy, but to really follow my heart and to just be like, I can trust what I feel in the moment. Like if something feels right, I know that.
Yeah.
And this last week when Saturn went direct, I was so tested on that because there were these immediate contractions.
I know,
and
we talked actually.
yeah, it was like these like immediate contractions that were huge, but they kind of like, it was big and then it was a little bit like less big, but immediate. And then this time it wasn't there. And I was like, actually, we're working something out of our mind by staying connected to our heart. And so the decision of like, did you say yes or no? I feel like there's this, did you say yes? And then you had a hangover from saying yes because you followed your heart and all of your conditioning was like, oh, you shouldn't do that. You should feel shame for that or guilt for that. And that's not what you should do. That's not who you are. That's not Libra. That's not pretty. That's not just.
Right.
And it's like, were you clear with yourself when you said yes? Were you clear with yourself? You can trust that. And you can detox that bullshit. That's like that square to Saturn.
Well, and I think when Saturn went direct, it was the end of this Virgo transit, which was really, I think, really wound up with the moon in Gemini last week. We were talking about it, and the square to it. And it was just, there was just a lot. And then I just think coming out of this weekend and coming into the equinox was just like, oh, okay. There was a very huge peaceful moment for me. And I feel that there's a lot of great peace if you've just really done the cleaning. You're not going to watch the movie and keep going to the scene that was the worst part of it. And you're not going to put that tape back in. Mm-hmm. You're just like, okay, I watched it, turned it back into Blockbuster.
Yeah.
I don't want to own that one. I remember renting movies as a kid and they'd be like, oh yeah, that was good. Good thing I didn't buy that movie.
Yeah.
Now today, rentals, it's like a big choice. Always do I buy this or do I rent this? Because I kind of might like this movie, but now I'm always like, man, I bought it and I'm like, I'll never watch it.
Yeah. But there's like a third option now that's like happening. I don't know.
You can watch it at somebody else's place. That's a Libra thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's. I think the Jupiter thing is saying the biggest thing to me is these dignified energies and Venus at home, Jupiter at home on a new moon in Libra. That's my face, right? Like, this is trying to open up the most amazing, beautiful doorways, whether it's relationship-wise or just experiences and projects and feeling good and finding beauty in your life. But if you're going to do this Uranus quincunx of go backwards into things that, that were of value, but Uranus wants to take you forward as well. A lot of stuff in astrology, if you really think about it, really wants to move forward. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of this Uranian energy, and especially Chiron opposite this new moon as well, which is if you're really formulated on this idea of your ego, of how you want it to look, and then you've got this Uranus and Taurus, I can't let it go and detach from it, and it has to be fixed in a crazy way, and you want to keep replaying this stuff, man, I think this can be a very difficult week for people.
I think, yes, and I think your point about, you were like, I went into the rejection stuff. I think that there's a lot of intelligence there to go into that because that's essentially what is coming up right now is the choice point is you're either going to be driven and directed by these unconscious protection mechanisms to keep you from being rejected, to keep you safe from rejection, or you're going to be willing to integrate the wounded identity of yourself to there's some part of ourselves that was wounded in terms of it was named not okay. It was there's that actually it's there's something that happened where you were the wounded one, you were the weak one because of that, and what if you weren't? What if you weren't? And what if you didn't care so much about what it looked like, what it looked like, what you decided to do or be or feel or whatever, your choice. And so if you're to just question, am I worried about where that fits, what boxes that fit in, who's going to accept it, who's going to reject it? If you don't do that, if you're just really honest with yourself and you're what feels good? What feels good before I learned what was right and wrong or who I was or who I wasn't?
Yeah, and there's a lot of subconscious belief / ruled belief, I would say, with the South Node with Saturn direct, because Saturn has to come over the node. And then Saturn's like, done with that for the last 5 months. And there becomes, I think, a lot more potency of like, okay, let's make this happen in a great way. But I think that this is a very rare moment because, yes, Saturn's direct. Things are moving forward. But there is that unknowing aspect, right, on it. And there's this last moment here where unknowing can be positive for the future, I feel. But I think unknowing of being unconscious into replaying is, and especially I like how you bring up these wounds that, are they really wounds and unwritten rules that deny you from it? And also I think the Chiron thing of this, like, I want it to be like this only, and I'm not looking at any of my experiences I've been through in my healing journey at all. I almost want to protect myself so I don't have to go through that again or something like that. And it's like, wait, what? Like, no. Like, I think this is where it's like, I think where our egos have always identified what we thought we wanted and what we think will bring us beauty, what will bring us the partnerships we want, is being tested in a way that by just being like, well, no, it's not like that actually. It's a totally different situation that you don't know, and just watch it's wrapped in beautiful wrapping paper. And it's waiting for you right there. But are you going to let go of that ideal? And that it's like a kid expecting like a little spoiled brat at freaking Christmas. Like, you didn't get me this and you didn't get me that under the wrapping. And behind the tree, I was expecting a brand new computer. I can't believe that you just got me a brand new iPhone.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
but that's all ego, right?
Right.
Because the universe, like Saturn specifically, it's always in our favor. Always. It's always in service to like what we actually truly want, whether we're willing to actually admit that or not. And that's where I'm like, if you're honest with yourself about what you actually want and you're willing to sit through that edginess of the old paradigm beliefs and judgments and Chiron and Aries, man, that just like, it's like you're disformed or like what. It's like if you're willing to like let that come up and then do it anyways, it's so supported and it's so available.
Well, and I thought about too, the new moon is at 5 degrees and Uranus is at 5. And 5 in numerology is the middle number. And we're in Libra, which is a very gray middle ground trying to find. And I really feel like we have a choice this week of like in this middle spot, tipping the scales into a very unbalanced, unbeautiful, and just continuing to not experience, because there is experience that's necessary with this Jupiter here. Because I was telling people tonight, I was like, this is it, folks. Like Venus and Jupiter in a great alignment in their home signs. Like, say goodbye to that one after this week. That one's not coming back around for at least 12 years. And then I was like, like this is a beautiful moment. It's the equinox. It's a new moon that follows. It's Venus, Jupiter. There is so many banging, awesome aspects with this hidden underlying theme of attachment to not beautiful situations that really are you continually wanting to replay those.
Or even just naming them as not beautiful as they are. So like not seeing that Mercury, Jupiter meta perspective of like, this sucks in my ego present moment awareness. Like this situation is totally not in my favor, but actually what if it is? And what if you can't know that answer until later? And there's been this for me and like a close friend today, we had this conversation where there's these bigger pictures are coming into play right now where you're like, oh, things that happened so far back are coming back now in this way that's like, that had to happen like that. Yeah. Like that had to go down like that in order for me to have this moment and like making this connection. So like rewriting the past by being available to like actually seeing the connection, not being stuck in like, oh, I did this because that person did that. But like, thankfully that person did that, which pushed me to do this. And if they hadn't, I wouldn't have chosen this and I wouldn't be where I am today. And it was a gift. So like, where's the gift and what's happening right now that you're denying because you're looking for that like obvious, like I asked for this and that's not what's happening. It's like you asked for that and it's happening in a way bigger way.
Better.
And you're
Bigger,
way better way. Yes, way better. Get out of your own way.
Yeah.
Get out of your own way.
Yeah, because this is ultimate gift time, because honestly, I really believe that this whole new moon cycle here, we're seeing a lot of good things. I mean, it's going to be before the Mercury retrograde that comes. So this new this lunation cycle is beautiful and really trying to build not only just a beautiful life, but really solid connections if you get out of your own way and watching the universe bring them in a beautiful way. And the Jupiter squared Neptune is over. Like, it's like, you know what? You've seen your patterns. You've learned them all. Let's go experience new circumstances. I feel like we have never in our lives, and I would say centuries to millenniums, been through such an experience of letting go of karmic patterns. So the most beautiful world is, I think, not the ego's identity of what that might be. Everybody's gonna have a different version of it. But I think what it is that you have this opportunity right now of something so fresh and new that's not karmically required of debt to be paid or whatever, you know what I mean? Like, it's kind of like an Oprah moment of like, everybody's credit is handled, you know what I mean? Yeah, you know, like I don't know, like, you know, your credit report is clear.
It's a liberation.
Yeah.
And it's for what I'm feeling is like, it's in a simplification process. So it's actually in this, like, in the letting go, in the like, the just like releasing attachment to all these things and really just settling into authenticity, really settling into like ownership of self and like true deeper desires and being like, oh, I can have anything I really want. Like anything, if I'm willing to let go of needing it to look a certain way or be approved by a certain group of people. But I feel like it's a ending of the karmic playouts, and actually it's a return. It's a return to the true fucking core of who you are. Maybe even before this incarnation. It's like, I came here to do, like, if you're here in this lifetime and you're conscious, like, you came here to do something pretty fun and conscious. Like, you came here to like create something and do something. You didn't just come here to work out patterns.
Well, and this was not an easy list to get on to be here.
Yeah. And you're here, and I feel like what you're saying is so true right now, where it's like you've done all these things and it's really obvious right now that you can do anything you want. You can do anything you want. What do you want to do?
Well, I think you bring up a good point about with anything that you want, but there is this, you know, it'll show up maybe in a way that you don't want to. So my mom and I, speaking of going into the past that you just brought up about really deep past stuff, because when I put my rejection post up and I called my mom, she asked how my mom called me and asked how I was, and I was telling her, and she goes, you know, I just want to tell you a story that you probably don't remember, but you were a freshman in high school, and I played baseball for like 7 years. I was in Little League, and I was like, with the older kids, like I excelled so much in baseball, so I thought automatically I'm going on the baseball team. So I went and tried out, but the day that I tried out, the coach was just like not that into it. So I didn't even get to bat. Like there were so many guys, and then I didn't even really get to play. I got to play one inning, and he threw me at second base, which isn't my thing. And so I didn't make the team. And I was really upset. I felt really rejected. Like, this is just a joke. I was in all those after programs with pitching and batting and all this shit. And I was like in the league, one of the highest guys in the league. So I was really pissed, but I really kind of didn't act pissed. I was just really upset, and I was like sad. And my mom said within 12 hours, he said, that's okay. The volleyball tryouts are tomorrow. And my aunt was AVP Rookie of the Year in 1991. And so volleyball's been in my family. And so anyway, I went on that, and that was the best thing that ever happened in my life. Like, I'm so glad I didn't play baseball. And the baseball team did shit. They were like horrible throughout the 4 years of my high school. They didn't even make it to like the CIF playoffs, like big time. Like my volleyball team, we made it all the way to the finals my junior year, and we made it to like, you know, halfway through, but like, I got to get patches of like, we were the champions, like we won our whole league. Like it was a big deal. And I got to play with guys who played for UCLA and all, they went on to go into pre-Olympic stuff, So I was lucky and I was like, wow, thanks, Mom. You just totally reminded me of that. I forgot about that story.
Right.
It was way embedded in me though for a long time.
You had it written in like this is and identified with the kid who was rejected, but now you're like, oh wait, I wasn't actually wounded with that.
No, it was at the same time that girls were denying me and knocking on their door and I just kind of felt like I was hitting brick walls all the time. But gosh, thank God, because some of those girls that I did try to go after, and when you go to your 10-year high school reunion, which my 20 year is coming up soon, I'm like, yeah, glad that one didn't work out. you know what I mean?
But this is like the revisioning of Saturn and the fact that the South Node and Saturn are meeting up, and it's kind of this washout of like all the times you thought life was working against you. Because that if we're fighting Saturn, we're fighting reality, we're fighting the like effort that's actually required because we've outgrown where we are. Like it causes suffering, right?
And do you really think anything beautiful is going to come in when you're in suffering? Like the only thing that's going to come through is the beauty of maybe some sort of relief of the suffering to get you back to normal. Or I guess, right? If you were to kind of think of this, like the gift is, all right, I'm out of my suffering. But what if like you get out of your suffering now and use the gift to go into true, beautiful things?
Right.
That I think that's the big test of what this gift is going to be. You will get a gift this week, but it might just be like, all right, pulled you up, thank you.
Yeah.
Like, wow, that was the one time a year out of a 12-year cycle, once every 12 years, when Venus and Jupiter meet up, the two benefics, on a new moon, with a moon that's a benefic, making great aspects to both, because it's going to conjunct Venus and sextile Jupiter. That's what you're going to use this beautiful gift on, is just to pull you out of some suffering situation that you continually, in your ego and in your thing, just keep, like, I mean, thank God the gift's there, but at the same time, you know, it could be really frustrating. Like, I could have had this, and I could have had that, and I could have opened up to this. It all was showing up, but I was saying no, and I was chasing after that, and ooh.
And the ego is like, it works in generalizations and like nuances. So it's kind of this like placing this projection of the past, like you're like this one memory you had. It wasn't even a clear memory, obviously. So it was like letting it be kind of cloudy, but so clear, and like you're like, nope, that's what happened, and this is what it did to me, and like you processed all of that. But then this truth comes out that's like, actually, that's not the real detailed truth. So then you get this real detailed truth, and you're like, oh, wait a second. Now I have different data that I've collected. Not this data that shows I can't trust life and I got rejected and girls didn't like me. It's like, actually what it showed me is that if I want something that I think I want, there's something better for me, like on a deeper level I want, or it's not really, like I'll look back and be like, damn, I missed what I really could have had because I was just so stuck on that. Thank God life saved me in that moment. Like, thank God I didn't know better, but like life knew better. So you have that data. And now, even if you don't know what's happening right now, you can at least apply it. You can be like,
totally.
You can be like, I have an example. So I think everyone could benefit right now from looking back in time. When was there a time in your life when there was something you were just so sure was like going to shit and was not working out? It was going against what was supposed to be happening. And you were just like, everything's working against me. And you look back and you're like, thank fucking God.
Yeah, you know, it was interesting so there was a lot of things this weekend. My grandmother's surprise 94th birthday, which I was so happy to do that and to see. But I was like going through a lot of like, well, you know, and I'll be honest, like, I mean, I loved that and it was amazing, but you know, there was all this internal stuff still going on from Saturn Direct last week, and a lot of frustration and things that just, you know, I was still dealing with, I think, some of the rejection stuff, not heavy, but just kind of like lightly still trickling there. But I was able to focus and stay within that space of my beautiful grandmother. That's just my Oma. That's just so beautiful. But it was funny because as that was done, I'm like, oh, well, I have this whole weekend off and I've changed my schedule now to have my full weekends off. I don't know what it's like in 7.5 years to have Sunday night off. I don't know what that's like. I ended up kind of actually working, but I didn't like work like I usually do. But I ended up seeing one of my old buddies, and I have some of my buddies going through some shit from high school right now, like some troubles, and I don't want to get into their stuff, but it was good to see him. And he actually, he does a lot of Bible study. So he was like, I've been studying the book of James, like this little workbook sheet. And I just was looking through it. And there was some parts of the book of James in the Bible that was like, that one, you need your sleep, that the devil, this is from the book of James, wants you to keep chasing and to not stay into sleep because he knows you'll become irritated. Mm. And I thought about that one, like, yeah, there is this part of ourselves, I think, that whether you look at that as sleep related or just chasing to where you don't get something of irritability, that really what that is it's pulling you away from source completely, because now you're running away from God. You're running away from this trust of God. And that's not a peaceful, restful place to where, honestly, God will deliver things in a place of rest and peace and beauty in a great way. So I decided to, and I had to drive really far from LA to San Diego. And then I was in Orange County to see my buddy, and then it was late. So I'm like, I'm going to come to the shop and sleep in the trailer and just sleep. That's what I did. And then again, went through another moment of like, you know what? I'm not going to go. This isn't chasing. There's no chasing. I'm just going to be here and just do some things. And that's when my other buddy called me up, was like, hey man, let's do this. They want to talk to you in the studio. And we redid it real quick, and we rebonded, and we know each other 12 years. It's kind of funny. I think I met him in Jupiter and Sag. Mm-hmm. But we reconnected. We're on the same path right now in life, and good things happening. It was just like, man, thanks God.
Mm-hmm. And on like a very practical level, if we aren't sleeping, we're more likely to be in like a fight or flight survival mode, where Totally. Our ego brain is actually overriding our ability to be connected to source, like our higher self, our higher consciousness. So like that's a very good route for fear to like work its way into your mind, is like resisting rest, resisting nutrients, resisting just any kind of like self-care that's keeps you in that place of like, yeah, taking care of yourself. Yeah. And it's funny because you said you were like going through all this stuff with the rejection, and what I kept seeing was like, it was like flowing like in and out of you, like the south node, that cup that just washes out. It's like, what if you weren't actually processing that? What if you were actually just watching it as it was leaving? And then it left, and then all this space was open, and you did the most beautiful thing, which was not fill it. You didn't fill the space immediately. You didn't immediately fill it with like activity or reaching out or chasing something or a new story of like, because I got rid of all this rejection stuff, now that means I'm gonna, like, you just held it, and then you allowed what was meant to come in, and it's still coming in.
And in those dreams, it was crazy because the situations, there's been a lot of really weird situations in my life, but my dreams just started telling me like, oh, yeah, just by the way that the dreams were enacted, I'm like, okay, I just don't need to run towards that. Don't need to help that anymore. Don't need to, because rejection's also like with help. I mean, it's like, I think people think it's always only a romantic thing, which it's not. Like, it's so many things, rejection, Mm-hmm. So, I think when I put that post, everybody's like, are you just being rejected by massive girls? Like, oh, I know a million girls that would date you. I'm like, no, this is a lot more than like romantic stuff, Like, This is dealing with just so many different areas. So, yeah, there's been a lot of dream work that's been very clear about, okay, there's the answer. And I was talking to my mom the other day, and she was having dreams. Mm-hmm. And I posted a video or a post of my godfather who passed away a couple years ago, and my mom called me and she goes, you won't believe who was in my dream last night, and he was sitting next to you on the boat. I said, who? She goes, Johnny, and that was the guy who I posted. And she goes, I just knew that you were okay. He just like let me know. And so like there's this really beautiful energy all around right now. Mm-hmm. it's just asking for you to just step into that. It's you know, and I know patience is something that's hard. I'm a fire sign, so it's very hard. And I'm born with Venus square Saturn in my chart. So that's why it's so potent for me now. But I can tell you that just learning that maybe it's not patience, maybe it's just like getting a really good seat at a really beautiful restaurant, and the sunset's about to come, and I've got the best seat in the house, and I'm going to sit here and enjoy it and watch all the beautiful things start to come.
I literally just told my friend today, I was like, she said something about impatience. I was like, I don't think you're impatient. I think you're excited. I think it's anticipation. I think it's a positive sign that a part of you is excited for what's coming. And I think that when we're ready for the change and we're ready for like what's to come, and we have these tickets to this show and we have, you know, this beautiful thing, like there's that drive there where you're like, yeah, you can feel, you're like, oh my God, like it's coming, like I'm going to be there and it's waiting for you. And it's like, you know, like on a very like, you know, 5 whatever dimensional level, a part of you is already there because it's already like set. Everything's set. The event's set. And you're just like on your way to arriving. And we're conditioned to feel that as anxiety and impatience. And it's like, but what if you just used Mercury, Jupiter to like flip the script and reframe and be like, what if that's not that? What if that mindset's anticipation? What if something like that surprise? I'm about to unwrap something super dope. And this is like,
and there is a revealing because Pluto is going to aspect both those. There's a revealing finally. And I think that's what's frustrating is the Saturn thing doesn't really reveal except more of like the block. And with Pluto there, it's a unique Saturn-Pluto thing because usually it's just a block and then it moves on. But this is like a block with knowing that there's something behind it. If you're conscious, or even if you're unconscious, you're like, there's a block, but I know there's something behind there. I can feel it. Because if you're awake right now, you can feel that Pluto behind Saturn. Like, you know, does that make sense?
Yeah. And what's coming to me is like, you brought up the Christmas thing where the kids like bitchy because they didn't get what they wanted. And, you know, they're just like ungrateful. And then the parents are just like if it were me, if I was the parent, I would just be like, fuck you. Like it was the last thing I was going to give you. And now I'm like, I don't know if I want to give it to you. Like, you're so ungrateful.
And actually,
like,
we did get you that. And it's
that's
actually
what I mean.
Underneath.
Right. But like now you don't get it. Like now, you know, and I'm like, what if the universe is like, I just want to know if you trust me and if you like, are you grateful? And why do you want it so bad? And this reciprocity, like I think there's Jupiter medicine too, where it's like, are you giving right now? Like, are you... And just in every interaction, I just think there's so much space to be grateful for so much right now. And people, because we're in Libra season, I am coming across the greatest people that I are just, you know, I see them all the time, but there's something different. There's like a spark and everyone has they're like these messengers. They have something to give us.
Yeah.
And I can tell that there's this kind of like weird test where it's like, are you actually listening with this person? Like, where are you right now? Because this person might be a gift. And so just treat everything as if it might be a gift or as it is. And you're just
with
like...
no expectation of what to require out of them either.
No, just a gift, a miracle, a good thing. Yeah.
Because it could be temporary, it could be long term. You don't know. It's just about accepting in the moment. I loved how you said at the very beginning of this, like just in the moment right now. Because I think that if you're in the moment, there is no understanding of if you're even in patience, you're in the moment. Because when you brought up like the ride to the concert, what I learned when I was young, since being a promoter and being a DJ and going to raves and concerts for more than most people would ever even dream of, that I learned through those experiences that I enjoyed going to the concert and being with my friends more than even sometimes the concert. And I enjoyed going home afterwards even more, and the laughs we had about what happened, and then going back to the house and we would all just laugh all night until the morning, until the sunrise. And then it was like that moment was my favorite. My favorite was not so much the big show,
the memories,
but the memories and the laughing and the connecting and the knowing and the beauty that you know, it was like I never even you stop expecting the show to be a certain way. You know, as somebody as a DJ, but would also watch DJs. Like, you don't know what you're gonna get with a DJ. Like, they're gonna go over here. It's pretty easy with a band to know, like, that's the chord, and that's going to be the voice, and that's going to be this, and they might do it a little different, but you know, you could sing along, but with a DJ, you have no idea what they're going to play, and that's what's kind of cool, is like, you go with the flow of the universe. And so sometimes the DJ's on and you're like, whoa, this is amazing. And sometimes they didn't play that good, but it's like, now you're focused on, yeah, there's that weird guy that was doing that, and you know, and he was talking to you, and then, you know, you just accept it.
Or you don't. Or you don't. And actually, I went on like a rampage with a Matt Kahn video I watched on YouTube called Choose to Be Here.
How do you go on a rampage on a video?
Well,
I want to know what
it.
Sarah does. You like sit in your bed or something?
No, I sent it to almost every friend.
Oh, you rampaged it like that.
Yeah.
You're like, share.
My moon in Sag in my third house overshares sometimes when I'm excited, but no, like you're saying this and I'm like, this video is medicine. I think the whole world should watch it. So it's called Choose to Be Here by Matt Kahn, and he literally says that like the difference between, you know, people who are happy and unhappy is like one person is choosing to be here. Like you can choose to be here with enthusiasm, even if it's not like quote unquote your expectations or whatever, like making the most of it. And that comes from our perception, that comes from our filter, our attitude. Like this is like an attitude adjustment period. And if you're like being grumpy and like I think dopey takes the race in this one. Like be dopey, be a little bit like doo-doo, I don't know, like this is great.
Right.
And just like have fun with the person next to you, make the most of it, laugh at what you don't know. Cry, but like don't, you know, cry in this. I mean, I've also had beautiful emotional experiences every day where it's not like I'm just living on this high. I'm really feeling deeply connected to life on the full spectrum. And it just feels like if you're in your heart right now, it's so beautiful. Like there's no bad. There's just a lot of like life touching us and like opening us in this way that's really beautiful, you know?
Yeah, and you hit it right, the nail on the head, because it's the lesson of that space when you connect with something and maybe it's not showing up that same way that you feel, and you're like, why? It's like, you know what? Oh, I'm just going to love that and move on, instead of try to focus on, well, how can I make that happen the way that I feel? Because that's not going to be a fun... Number one, why do you even want that?
Like ask yourself, actually.
Yeah, that'd be like going buying a new car, but like before I really take it, I really want to replace that and replace that and replace that and change that. And usually that doesn't really go down a really fun road. Mm-hmm. And so I think that the things right now that are beautiful, just as are they are beautiful as it is. There is no adjustment needed. There is no change needed. There is no, you know, and I think that this is a big test of seeing what is very accepting and opening. And I know that trust comes up a lot with Venus square Pluto and Mercury square Pluto, but I think that trust it's very white or black. It's like you're either open or you're not. And I think the only protection that we need is really like just being very aware of like, does this fit in my path or not? Like if somebody's coming up to me and asking me like, do you want to start selling drugs? It's going to be like, nope, that's my protection. Like it's pretty clear to just say, nope. But if it's something that feels on my path, like I'll open up the lobby door. Come on in. What's going on? Mm-hmm. And then use the Libra to kind of, and Capricorn, which is going to be like, could I make a business out of this? Whether it's anything, right? That's Capricorn's. I mean, it goes into more than just business, but I use that analogy of like, can I take this to market in my life? And then the Libra is kind of like, yeah, I don't know, we have this over here. We harvested in Virgo and we have that. And we're weighing it out. Here's the report, Mr. Saturn and Miss Saturn. Oh, okay, let's see here. And they're putting their glasses on and taking their time and doing the numbers and like, let's do it, you know?
Yeah. And I feel like so many things you talked about what was coming to me is like letting things be naturally, like things that are naturally beautiful. There's this natural quality right now where it's like, it's effortless. Like it's actually available to be effortless right now if you're willing to believe that. Like if you're willing to trust that all you got to do is show up. That's all you got to do. And it is really easy right now. And if it's not really easy, that's okay, because there is something that is really easy and natural, and it's available.
Yeah.
If you trust yourself and who you are enough, like, and really that whole self-worth of like, no, like there is something meant for me. There is another half to my wholeness in whatever way. It's just like, it just feels effortless right now if you're willing to drop the mind games of like, it's got to look this certain way, or I got to make it fit into this because this is the plan I had. And I've been working, like, there's also something, by the way, about 2019 and specifically the last 5 months of Saturn retrograde, where it's been like, we really thought we were clear and like the work we were doing in this direction. And we thought we were moving really clear this way, and it might've been away from something. And right now I feel like there's this yes and, or like yes but, where it's like, all of that was for a purpose, but it's not so specific to like that focal point. It's like where you are right now, and like look at like, what have you gained? Like, what have you learned? Because we've all learned a shitload in these last 6 months. And that is all you need for whatever it is you're meant to do, whatever you're meant to create, whatever you're meant to market. It's like, if you're trying to create something new right now, if you're trying to make something, if you're trying to grow, or like, I got to go learn more about this, it's like, you've got a lot of resources built up and the whole thing's ready for you. Totally. You just got to fucking own it.
I love that analogy too, of like how we thought, I almost looked at it like, because I always think of Saturn as the train tracks. They're very earthly and they're very iron, and they're like, but they're very stern, like, and they keep it in track, right? You know, where Taurus can get a little caught up and lost in vanity and really good food and kind of something pretty over here, and Virgo can be all analytical over here, but a new problem has come up that seems like that's more interesting, so it can get lost over there.
There's like the conductor, the rider, and then the like
but there's
manager.
Something about that Capricorn energy that's like, this is the track and we're going to hold that down. And I feel like it's like the tracks that retrograde this last 5 months was almost like a train track that led with all the great stuff to the actual new track of the pivot of where we're going.
There's a pivot. Yes.
Yeah. Like
yes.
There's a pivot. And then actually that train track was just to get the train there because the track needed to go this way.
Yes.
And they couldn't get it there any other way. And that was the track to get it there. And now this is the new tracks, and that's where it's going to go. And they'll get rid of those tracks because that was just to get the equipment there.
We thought it was this like, I'm going on this long journey to get to this destination. It's like, actually, you just shortcutted. You just, I don't think it's shortcut is the word, but you just shortcut. And you got to this new track where you're like, oh, this was, I'm actually rerouted back to my original plan for being here. And the conductor, Saturn, is like, you're welcome. You're welcome. You don't have to do all these things anymore and go to all these extra stops anymore. You can just go straight ahead if you want. But if you want to make it more difficult, or if you want to make it more scenic, if you want to add the like, you know, the bells and whistles of all these things, you can do that. Or you can just go straight on this new track. That's like been there all along.
Yeah. And this new moon, I think, is what this is setting that track forward, the train forward, the experience. And I think that this is about just getting a good seat. And everybody always goes, well, who am I going to sit next to? It's a little bit Forrest Gump, like seats taken. But think about if you would have sat next down to anybody else other than Jenny.
Yeah.
Jenny in that whole movie is his driving force of everything, and the way that he is, and that he lives for. And even though she rejects him the whole movie until she basically has HIV and has his baby, that she, you know what I mean?
I don't know if that's the best movie for the analogy, but
well, no, I'm just saying that like, even though that might sound horrible, but there's something about it because she did die. And the most tearing part of that movie is when he is at her gravestone and so loving to her still, and showing what a quality, beautiful human being is. You have to remember that he's pretty young because this kid's only like 5 years old at the end. So he still has a whole life in front of him. It's not like this is the end of his life.
That's where we are now too.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And he goes, I'm so proud of my child, and we play ping pong, and he reads every day, and he's so smart. And remember, because Forrest thought he wasn't smart, when really he was actually like over smart. But I love that movie because there's that he finally does release, and he leaves the boy's letter, and then there's the whole. I hear Craig laughing or something in the background. I don't know, but there's the feather, and the whole, how the feather at the beginning of the movie comes in, and at the end it leaves. And it's graceful and it's beautiful, and the white feather always represents the dove too, that godly presence. And I think there's something beautiful and godly all around this moment of like, if this seat's taken, like, and maybe this is a past story of like what happened, like, okay, that was the seat you went through, and the other ones, and you thought this was it, and you thought Jenny was it, and you thought it was all there, and it didn't. It ended that way, and this is a whole new train track, and you don't know where it goes. All you see is Forrest Little, I think they named him Forrest, like Forrest Jr. getting on the bus the same way he did, about to go pick his new seat.
Mm-hmm. So, you know how you said the part about how Forrest was... There's two things, but the first one, I don't want to lose it because it's good. Wait, I'm having like ego amnesia. It's funny. The part where you said that he realizes how smart he was, like he was actually smart the whole time. He just didn't know it. That is the Pluto waiting on the other side. That's that, where it's like, it's been there the whole time, and it's a personal power. And it's something where like, it was like some deception, some self-deception of like, I'm struggling to get this and make this happen. It's like, you've had it the whole time. The power, Anne said tonight, she's like, the power's always been within you at the end of Dorothy, Wizard in the Oz. Yeah, so there's that. And then also, you can't miss the seat you're meant to sit in. No. Like, your seat is saved. Your true seat is always saved.
Always saved. Yeah, because little Forrest is about to go to his new seat, and Forrest got him to his kid there after doing a lot of crazy stuff. And I love that movie. That movie is always my go-to when I'm in a down place. It reminds me of, oh man, there are beautiful people on the planet.
Yeah. And to like slow down and just enjoy the people on this planet, to enjoy totally. And to just like appreciate.
That's a whole part of this time right now, is that this really is connection, because we are with the square to the nodes in between eclipses now, as far as we're the halfway zone. Can't even believe that. That's what's coming up. Like, if you think about it, July 2nd, and I'm like, wait, what? We're in another season? Like, that was the summer, and now we're in the fall? Like, we're already now halfway through the eclipses. And this is a pivot in that way, too. I mean, even taking away the Saturn thing, but Saturn's kind of at that pivot point at the bottom of where the south node is, and we're in between eclipses, and we got all this Libra energy that's pivoting in between both those sides. And so the Cancer side of things is that there is this just really enriching. That's what Cancer is. It's enrichment, and it's support. And what supports you is there and will be felt and known.
Felt. And
if it's not felt and you're questioning that is not something that you can have the genie change. Like, even that's his number one thing. Like, I can't wish you to have this person fall in love with you or die or come back from the dead. Or that's the only thing genies can't do, is like force somebody to feel a certain way. That's the only thing they can do. They can't do anything else. Like, they can do everything else, but they can't do that.
And like, where do we do that to ourselves? Like, that's actually what I feel like I've been detoxing a lot too in the last month. It's just like really this liberation is like feeling good about where I actually feel good, and like really following that and not deceiving myself and being like trying to make myself like something or not like something, or want something or not want something, or you know what I mean? Like, it's like just really asking ourselves, what do I want? Like, what do I like, or whatever. And the Cancer North Node too is like, there's so much soul nourishment. I feel like it's like this following what feels good. And this is what it was, the intuition thing. So it's like, know that if you follow your heart and you follow your intuition and it feels right in the moment, when you have that just immediate, like, right, it's always followed by doubt. So if it's followed by doubt, and then all of a sudden you start questioning it, like, let's say you're like, yes, it's a yes, I feel it. And then I go to bed and I wake up the next day and suddenly I'm like, ooh, I'm really not clear. and I have all this logic and this reason coming and all these doubts and the worry. So I'm going into the future, I'm going to the past, and all of a sudden my mind is getting involved and I'm entangled, and I'm like, you know what? I don't think that was right. I don't think I can trust what I felt. Right now, you can trust what you feel in the moment. You can't trust what you're trying to explain or justify or rationalize why you feel the way you feel after or before. It's like moment to moment. You can trust what feels right. And you can know that there's gonna be like a little hangover, like a detox of that South Node Saturn patriarchy bullshit that's like, it's doubt's gonna come in. That's a good sign. Must be me listening to myself, following my intuition, doing something that's not just conditioned or like patterned or...
Right. And this is where I think Mars and Virgo comes in at this ending. You know, we're on the last major week. Of course, it goes into next week as well. But this is not so much I think about cleanup anymore, but like, all right, this is the adjustments I've made, and I'm testing the machine out, and I'm running the machine, and I'm, you know, really identifying now with this purity of life, of cleaning things up, and I've got everything operating. So I think Mars, though, can be a little bit like, come on, somebody get in the machine now and run it. It works. You know, when you get all excited, like I just built a computer that's running this thing right now. And it's like, all right, I want to get it ready. But I'm like, oh, I can't push that too much. I have to still load that, and I still have to hook up that cord, and I got to do it right. But once I do it, it's like when I turn that thing on, I know it's going to work right away. And I think that we're all at this, we're at this really big final juncture point where we've all got all of our systems operating. We got all the kinks out. The lights work, you know, in the spaceship a little bit. There's this like load up. And that's what I think is what we need to focus on, is just like, yeah, I got this system operating. But I think I want to go into time, because I feel that this is where timelessness has been very extreme, where it's almost like, and I think this has been my frustration, is that I know that time is important. I know that time and scheduling, especially with Mars and Virgo, is very important. But I also know that like the most beautiful things in life usually happen when we weren't planning the time of them. There are things that happen in the moment. There are things that happen in a timeless state. And I think that's where Neptune is coming into to this, because there is a dark moon in Virgo this week before the new moon in Libra, and it's going to be with Mars, and it's going to be in the T-square Jupiter Neptune. And right now. I think that this is where it's like, if you're just like, no, this is the way my life is, it can't fit anything in, and it's like, okay, well, I guess you're just going to miss out on some of the gifts too.
Like micromanaging your life.
Yeah.
Yeah, and in order to like control your emotions almost. I could see that because actually I wanted, when you were saying all of this, I remembered when I looked at the charts, the Moon Mars conjunction when it's in its balsamic phase is the exact time that Saturn and the South Node cross.
Yeah.
So timelessness.
Right.
It's like, and they're both in these earth, like it's a wide earth trine. So there's this like, get lost in the moment. And don't go for the Virgo perfection of the moment, but the Virgo purification of the moment. There was a Virgo who was talking about being a Virgo and how she's really had to, you kind of shift from being a perfectionist, because that's that desire to be perfect, but like channeling that more into like a purification of her life. So really getting clear on like, it can't be perfect, but it can be pure in intention, pure in integrity, pure in the kind of like going in, not the coming out. So there's the Moon Mars is like in the balsamic phase. This is not a time for the production to show itself in this perfect way. It's more like it's a purification of intention and input, and then a trust and like a letting go of the time or the image or whatever. And you like float into the Libra new moon and you're like, oh.
Well,
yes.
I think it reminds me of somebody who cleans their house and doesn't let anybody into that room. Right? Like it's got the couch has a cover on it, plastic cover, right? Like the floors are so perfect. It's been like, it's still vacuumed every day, even though nobody's in there. It's been dusted, and it's like, no, you're not allowed in that room. It's like, well, what is the room for then?
Right.
I think that's a big question.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you don't
What
want
is life
anything.
for?
Yeah. What is life for? And I think that this becomes this like Virgo thing of like, no, that won't fit in here this way. I've got it set so good that, but I don't want anything to come in and shift things. But it's like it reminds me of like a child coming into that room, like the old grandma being like, no, it could break something. But that child somehow does something that brings something so beautiful into that room, that brings it joy, that changes that person and goes, shit, I was fascinated about the little, glass case with the little dolls in it. But really, the joy I see from the child in this room is way more joyous and way more inviting and way more beautiful than this thing that's just piling dust on it.
Right. And like, why do we have that space if it's not to live in it? Why do we have a life if it's not to experience? Right. And there's a conversation I had with a client today of just like, just so you know, your ego's never going to be ready. Like, there's never going to be a good time to let that kid in this room. There's never going to be a right moment,
right,
like, to try this out. So, like, go ahead and just fucking do it.
That's been my frustration, is seeing a lot of that around, to be honest with you.
Like, but the ego's let's just come to terms with that. The ego's never going to be ready. And there's always going to be something else, some one final Mars, Moon, Virgo, last final touch I need to do before I'll be ready. You won't be ready. You just got to do it. And you're already ready. Like, consider the fact that you're already ready, and like, trust yourself enough and trust life enough where like, let's have some fun. Like, let's like try it out. Just do something new and like,
exactly.
Yeah.
Because the frustrating part to me, which has been noticing in subconscious conversations, like, it's always like, well, I'm really busy and I have this to do, so everybody's pushing off. It seems more perfect next week. It seems more perfect on this side of the aisle. It seems more perfect over there. And then you'll get there and it'll be like, actually, no, blah, blah, blah. And we're all playing that in a way. Mm-hmm. And it's like, you'll hit something with like having my buddy Taylor come here at the studio was like, we were talking about redoing it, and it was just, we looked at each other like, let's just do this now. Yeah, let's just do this now.
Let's just do this now.
And honestly, it was so done, so easy, so fast, so beautiful. We had a good time. We reconnected, and I thank God that he came into my life. And he came here. Gave him a reading and all that stuff too. And then he was like, thank you. I'm like, no, thank you. He goes, what do you mean, thank you? Like, you gave me a reading and all this stuff. I'm like, you have no idea, like, what you did for me. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I think that's where this is like, this dark moon Virgo with Mars there. Like, are you going to close off and wait for the specific moment? And you're going to miss out, because this is a miss out moment with Venus and Jupiter and their home. And because really that is the sextile that leads to the conjunction, which is at the end of this year. But that's not going to be as potent as now with this energy, because when we start building into this fall, I don't want to say the opportunities are going to go away. I'm just saying that it becomes... this is one of those weeks you don't want to waste. And
like waste. So I think waste. It's like,
I called it poop earlier today.
I was just going to say compost, and it's about the part of Saturn and the part of cycles and time and all of life that we have completely forgotten, repressed, and rejected. The death part of cycle. Yeah. The compost, this shit, the part of like, we've just actually like rest. We've just overridden that part. We're just like, we're just not going to do that part. We're not going to honor that. Like, it's shit. It's gross. But like, what if we need to like reevaluate our relationship to that part of the cycle, because there's a reason for it. Right. And when we talk about taking a risk, it's like failure is not something to be avoided. Failure is, but we're so conditioned to be so hyper critical and hyper aware of our circumstances and ourselves, and that kind of just like this pressure, and even in the spiritual community especially, this ego righteousness. It's like, I can't mess up, I can't do this wrong. It's like, I've been giving myself permission to be like, I'm going to give myself permission to maybe I'll mess up. Maybe I'll mess up. And I'm going to trust that like my soul and my heart are good. Like my heart is good, I'll learn from it. And then I'll know, and then I'll be able to do something different next time. But if I never even give myself the opportunity, that's when we waste Saturn's medicine. That's when that caution and that integrity actually works against us, and we actually just stay stuck, and we're in inertia, and we're not moving forward. We're just staying in one spot, like adjusting everything, looking ahead.
I agree. I think that it is Libra, so we do have balance here, right? You brought up the rest thing, but then there's also moments where maybe the moment is where this is a moment to bring something in, right? Mm-hmm. So it's like you kind of gauge. You have to be a gauge of like these things, and trust in that. And so, but there is a balance too, where I think Virgo can get way too like, it's this time, and it has to, this is my schedule, and this is how it is, and you're not you, this or this project or this person or this, it cannot fit into this. It cannot fit in, right? Because it's very narrow, Virgo. Like, this is the microprocessor, and it only fits with these pins right here in the motherboard. That's it.
Yeah.
Right? Where Jupiter's just like, like, a lot of room. Like, I think, like, you know, it's funny when we talk about the Earth and overpopulation. And especially this brings back to this Bill Gates thing, which is hilarious, but it's just like there's 350 million people in America, and there are over 1 billion people in India, and over billions, you know, in China. And like, we are an empty nation. In Canada, there's about 35 million people in that whole entire massive area. There's nothing. There's no one. There's all this open space in our life, and all we're focused on is just no, nothing will fit in. And it's like, okay, that's just not going to work anymore. I don't think that it's good to have structure. It's good to have a rhythm. It's good to have a routine that's healthy and good, but it's also a robot at that point too.
Yeah, the robot for sure. That is like Saturn South Node in Capricorn
with the
gone wrong.
With the Mars and Virgo thing.
Yeah, and like I feel like what's coming to me is Uranus retrograde is kind of like we're trying to do the awakening by going inward. We're trying to like figure it all out internally. So we're trying to process internally. We're talking about it, thinking about it, doing all this inner work. And I actually feel like the medicine right now is to take action and to like, or just ask yourself the balance. It's like, in my life, in my general life, for the majority of my way of being, am I somebody who just is always taking action and not slowing down to do the inner work? Or am I somebody who's constantly doing the inner work, but like not really ever taking action? Yeah. And so I think there it's like, we all have to look at that for ourselves and then experiment with doing the opposite of what we normally routinely feel comfortable in, because that's the medicine. I think I was going to say it's action, but I actually think that's not true. It could be different for everybody. It's like, just try to do the other half of that equation. Don't either way, doing it in your own head is not going to work right now. We're in Libra season. There's a lot of like going outside of yourself to like resource and get a different picture, so that we're not stuck in this like narrow, this is all we've got. It's like, maybe you haven't seen that part of California before.
Well, and I think trust comes with a lot with that, with this Pluto, because Pluto does come direct next week. So when Pluto does stop, people that have really deep trust issues and stuff, and with the squares here, there's a lot of closed, like, no, and with the Virgo, no, it doesn't fit in my life, but it's just an excuse, really, of not wanting to experience. Like, I'm not ready for an open experience. I'm not ready to see what's in there. I'm not ready to open that room up for someone at all, because that's scary.
I feel like it's also what's taboo. So, like, this Pluto direct feels really powerful for anybody in the spiritual community, or anybody who's been on a path where like you've kind of gone rogue from the standard status quo. It's kind of this like calling in and calling forward, where it's like, it's time to really go for it. It's time to really put yourself out there and to like go for the stepping into your power, like really do it. Like don't hold back. And this Pluto direct, I feel like it's like, if there was a time to like put ourselves out there and, you know, go against status quo or be like, take a risk on, you know, showing the taboo in ourselves or whatever. It's like, now's the time to fucking do it. Like, this is not the time to play safe. We won't be persecuted.
The rules are not
real
anymore.
Right.
Like,
just change the rules.
It's just like change the rules and change the rules based off whatever this time thing is. I mean, like, if you want to be on the hamster wheel, go right ahead in life right now. Mm-hmm. But you're missing out on the hamster coming off the wheel. And I always love seeing like little things as a kid, like the hamster jumping out of an airplane and like, you know what I mean? And there's like having a blast. And we are finishing this year of the pig.
Roll around in some mud.
Like the pig is the most spiritual part of this Chinese cycle. Mm-hmm. And I think that this is a reminder as we come towards the rat, which is coming, which I'm a rat, by the way. So, the pig is just enjoying the fruits of life.
Yeah.
And I think that we have restricted so much of that by a delusional written rule system. And with Pluto, there's a trust too of like accepting or bringing in, and then some people, you know, get weird if it's like brought in, but it doesn't work out. It's like, hey, this is a lot of experimentation. Jupiter is in Sag. Like this is a lot of lessons. This is a lot of experiences. This is a lot. Mm-hmm. So
it won't always be though.
No.
So here's the thing. I'm actually like, remember when it was initially really cool to have a pet pig? There was this fad about getting
micro pigs?
mini pig. Yeah, mini pigs. And pigs are traditionally really gross and smelly and dirty.
They don't stay micro, by the way.
But what's funny is that right now, whatever feels like that image of pig, like smelly, dirty, gross, whatever, someday that's going to be the fad. That's going to be the thing everybody's going to want to do. And are you going to wait until it's a fad to be like, I knew it, but I didn't have the balls to say I knew it then. I didn't have the balls to be the first one to get the pig as a pet.
Right.
Even though I wanted to, and I knew it was going to be a fad. It's like, start the fad. And like follow your joy and do the weird thing and put yourself out there, because I think artists, especially right now, it's like,
this is the Renaissance, Saturn, Pluto in Capricorn. When the Renaissance happened was in the beginning of the 1500s, which is where we're at. Mm-hmm. This is a Renaissance. Look at right now. We're doing a show right now
on astrology.
Talking about, with, like with visuals and cameras. This
like,
is the Renaissance right now.
Like, where are we? Like, wake up. We are not in the mindset that's moving through us right now. It is detoxing, because that's not reality anymore. It's time to like join the current reality.
And during those times, the blacksmith would look at somebody on the street playing a guitar and look at them like they were fucking insane. Like, what are you doing?
And that's perfect.
Or Shakespeare and all this stuff. Like even classical music, you know, was coming into shifting as we left the 1500s into the 1600s and especially the 1700s. Mm-hmm. I mean, what we know today is like, you know, a lot of that is just like was truly its real form, and then it was really acceptable. But aristocracy really came about by, you know, the finerment in life came through the Renaissance of art.
When we look back,
Libra is the art realm.
Yeah. When we look back on that, we aren't looking back and saying weirdos on the street playing the guitar. Like those artists are revered, and immortality lives in legacy.
True
so do something that is worth remembering beyond, you know, the blacksmith judging you on the street because you're doing what that blacksmith will not give themselves permission to do, but they really want to do. That's all any kind of projection or rejection is. It's literally somebody looking at you, angry with themselves that they're not giving themselves permission to do the thing that they want to be doing, to express themselves in the medium that is called to them. If a blacksmith truly loved what he was doing, if he saw the guitar player and recognized that shared love, you'd be so stoked for him. Like you'd be like, I'm glad we're all doing what we love.
Yeah. Do you mind playing in front of my blacksmith shop and I'll hook you up so you can get some more customers for me and you can get some more people to watch you? Mm-hmm. Like it's kind of that Libra negotiation, goodwill and connection. And the next thing you know, they go develop, I was going to say music playing swords.
Yeah. And that's what's possible if we stop analyzing what everyone else is doing or not doing or what's right and what's wrong, and we just express ourselves freely and share our gifts freely with the world and let it be natural and organic and not like, okay, I'm going to share my gift once I have this title that allows me to present it in this way, or once I have, this connection with this person and this platform, then I can do it. It's like, you're ready now, the world needs it now, and you have no idea who's going to be affected by that. It might be nobody appreciates it for your entire life, this life. And then after you're gone, it might be the thing that everybody remembers.
Exactly.
So put your ego down, let your heart out, and receive the wrapped gift.
Receive it. And I think that communication is going to be a huge one because Mercury does quincunx Neptune. It does square Pluto. It does this, we have to also speak it out though to the world too, which I think, so when we say, to people like, yeah, just put it down and accept things, but there also has to be some sort of like message in a bottle sent out, like in a weird way. Because if nothing is known, even though I think intuition's strong, Neptune and that North node are breaking apart now. Jupiter, quincunx, the node is done. So really, if you start to see there's this dwindling, there's this really good opportunity this week, and then you start to see things kind of...
Right. Like,
and so that's what I'm trying to tell people. Yeah. Like, this is the...
Speak your truth.
Don't just bypass this week as another hamster wheel week.
Yeah, and like, share authentically.
Like, I'm going to just push that off till... I think that, people... And it's hard. I think being an astrologer is a hard thing because not being into astrology and remembering my life when I wasn't following the planets, like, I couldn't imagine... But I remember just looking at a week as a week, like, like what's on my schedule and that's it. Like, I literally look at everything like, oh my gosh, this energy this week is not coming around for da-da-da-da. And fuck, I'm going to do that. Or this is a time of not to do things, right? We've spoken many times of when not to do stuff. Or da-da. Like, this is one of those things where it's like, oh my gosh, like, this one's not coming around. Because then the sun is going to come into a full moon in Aries 2 weeks from now, and that one's going to be squaring Pluto, and there's going to be some intensity, and then we're going to see this Mercury into Scorpio where it's going to go retrograde, and stay there for a while. We're going to get long Mercury retrograde in Scorpio. And this is where this beauty thing and setting all that beauty up so you can create depth opposed to, I don't want to say a feeling of lack, but it's almost like missing some of the opportunities that are there can put us into a scorpionic feeling of, I don't want to say lack, but it will oppose Uranus and Taurus and kind of be like, what do I have? Do I have it or not? It's like, oh, you had a lot of opportunities that we were trying to move you forward in. Oh, man. So it's like Scorpio is going to either create with Taurus or recognize what it doesn't have. And I think that this is where you have to see before those moments, these are those moments now. Maybe I'm delusional, I don't know, but
yeah. And I think if you're not avoiding the natural like loss and letting go that's happening in this transition, there's a grief in this cycle, and there's so much beauty, but I want to say that there is still this holding this paradox. And I think if you're trying to avoid loss, or you're trying to avoid letting go, or avoid processing that part of this, it's not gonna, you can't avoid it. Like it'll just come back. And that's where I think the energy with the Aries and then the Scorpio, I was thinking about Scorpios today and how they're here to live the extreme of everything and to really exercise free will. And if they're never put in a situation that's really challenging, that really calls them forward in this way, that's like that energy is used to create something magnificent out of nothing, then it can be used as kind of like there's this surplus of energy that's like, again, it's like that greed, and then you destroy the wrong thing and you create havoc where it doesn't need to be created, or you create, you know what I mean? So there's like this.
No, I know. It's
like, dude, like there's gonna be a challenge. There's gonna be a call forward. There's gonna be a sense of like, it's not gonna be like super hunky dory easy, and make it worth it. Like, what do you want to put your energy into? What do you want to like? Do you want to do it to fight yourself in reality and another person in a relationship? Or do you want to use it to fight through the bullshit, conditioning and like detoxing patterns?
I think we can have all that we really want.
Yeah.
I think that this Jupiter is finally going to pay off. It always does at the end of a transit. It always does once it's got off the hard aspects. Mm-hmm. And it's approaching soon to come through the shadow period finally. Mm-hmm. And this was a rough go for Jupiter because it just was quincunx the North Node. It had Saturn sitting in next to it 30 degrees over. It had Neptune squaring it for a ton this whole time. Like it had all this Virgo stuff squaring it. It had it's just been, even the eclipses were in weird aspects to it. So it's just like I haven't got to really experience fully. I mean, there's been a lot of great experiences, but these have been a lot more of like what you say, like clearing and releasing. But this is a prime moment of finally starting to see some really positive experiences. And are you going to allow yourself to like have them? That's going to be the big question. So,
and if people know what they truly want. Because again, I think the universe is delivering for us what we signed up for before we came here. And as soon as we release the resistance to what that is, whatever influence is coming in on us, that's like, no, I think it's this. It's like, if it's not working out, like your story about, the transition to volleyball, I know that Jupiter's paying off, and I know all this energy is just delivering in such a big way.
Yes. And
that's going to come clear either way, whether you see that now or it comes clear when it's actually all done and you're that kid who's like, oh shit, I totally like, made that way harder than I needed to.
I know.
Because it's not, you can't miss your seat, and it's all going to come it's all coming to fruition. It's just, I think right now that Pluto taboo, that fear of being really willing to be who we really authentically are and like to own it and to just step into it and be like, this is what it is. It's not any of these things I thought it was. It's not any of that. It's like, I see why that had to be taken away from me. I see why I had to go through that, because now all that contrast has served and I'm ready to receive what's truly mine.
100%. And this is the last week where once Mars drops out of, Virgo and goes into Libra, now there is no planets except Uranus that are in the first, 6 signs of the zodiac for a long time, this whole winter and fall and winter. And the only thing that will be there is, well, you can include Chiron, but it's not really a body fully. So Uranus and Taurus really is the only thing that's going to be holding up in the first 6 signs of that youth and that building and that young. And we're going to be in some really wise and really intense and really scraping the depths of our souls in a big way. So this Mars in Virgo is a good thing right now of like, come on, make the adjustments. Like, it's okay. Like, you can integrate and have anything you want in this reality. Like, you cleared it all out for a reason. Mm-hmm. Then you want to use it. The other part about, Mars in Virgo is like, people ask me, like, when I buy like a very rare sports car, like, why do you put miles on it? I'm like, why would I waste my life and spend money that I worked my ass off for years to have a car that I don't drive?
It's the same as that room thing you talked about.
Yeah. Like Mars in Virgo to me is like fucking, use it and then clean it, and then use it and then clean it. And if it needs something replaced, replace it, and use it and clean it, and use it and clean it. And if it needs to be replaced, replace it.
It's also I love that how you brought in how we're not going to have any of that youthful energy the first half of the zodiac. And then we move into where it's also a wise energy and almost like a dissemination. And a giving back. And it becomes not just about the individualization, that evolution, but now bringing this, perfected form in giving that in relationship with our world and other people. And I think we're so ready to serve and to share and to connect. And there's this kind of sage moment. Like everyone's their own sage in their own way.
Yeah.
And especially from this year, we've all been time is not real. And the last 2 years have been lifetimes of experiences. If you gather that and use the Mars and Virgo to really distill it down and get really clear on this is what I have to offer. And I'm ready. And I'm going to do it.
With this Cancer North Node, because it reminds me of people being like, yeah, I really can't hang out. I'm not doing well in this area, or I don't feel well, or I got this ailment, or it's like, what does that mean? There's this perfectionism of when it's perfect, when I feel right, or when my hair is right, or when this is right, or when that is right. It's like, what are you talking about? If this is real humanity and spirituality, I will take you as is and wherever you're at. This is about emotional and connection right now, and building and creating things instead of separation, instead of kind of then being alone, denying something and then just sitting there in Saturn's South Node world of okay, I'm just by myself and I'm the hermit now and I'm in the woods by myself. When a whole bunch of people wanted to come and join me in the party and throw a forest rave. And I said, no, the wood chipper didn't work and I want to just make sure that the wood's piled up in the right way.
It's like the miser who's but it's like a Virgo miser who's all I want to do is share and help. That's all I want to do. And it's well, why are you holding on to all those things that you could share and help with? Why don't you just open your door and let us in? Oh, I don't have any space. There's no way. I'm your entire house is empty. You have everything.
I know.
We have the food. You don't have to have food. Oh no, I didn't clean the bathroom. It's you're ready. Open the door and let us in.
There's enough people in here that 2 of them will go clean the bathroom for you right now, actually, while they'll go upstairs and pull that thing out of the attic that you were tripping out about and why you didn't want us to come over. Maybe you were hiding dead people up there. I don't know. I think that this was a beautiful conversation.
Yeah.
And I think that this is a beautiful time. And I think that appreciation and gratitude and the beauty of the things that are in front of you and that do show up is just in all ways, just be grateful and watch just this. And that's the part of Jupiter that I think is the ultimate test, is gratefulness. Always. That's where the gifts come. And being willing to open up to the gratefulness and experience it. A gift is something that, and I have a problem with this. People have sent me gifts and then you've seen it.
The fucking flowers.
I've had Sarah hand me a gift here at the studio. It's you've had this for 3 months. It's been given to you and you haven't opened it yet. And I'm oh, I'll get to that. And it's oh, mate. And then I actually get to the gift. Just real quick, I had a gift that my cousin gave me and a couple other women from a retreat I used to do way back in 2013 for one of my birthdays in 2015. I didn't open up that birthday gift present that they had sent me, and it was hundreds of dollars worth of shit until last year. It was I had a gift that I hadn't opened in 3.5 years. And I was wow. And I called them and I felt bad because one of them was a Fitbit watch and it was pretty much dead. And I don't know. It was not with the new time.
Yeah.
I missed out on a time when, I don't know. There was a lot of things. And then there was food in there that, there was all this stuff I missed out on.
David,
no, I'm here. Trust me. I am now. But that's been the rejection thing. It's okay, I'm ready for it. And then, no, it doesn't show up. And then that's where I go into frustration.
Well,
so then I almost formulated this whole, this shadow pattern of well, I'm not going to open any fucking gifts. And, I'm the guy that, it's like the King of Pentacles, right? He's got all this shit all around him, and he's just sitting there yeah, I think I have that. I don't know. I do. Yeah, I have it, but I don't know.
Yeah.
And that's not who I am. So I'm the chariot. Like, I'm like, let's go. Like, you know what I mean?
And what you put out is what you get back. And so
Totally.
I'm like, I got these new plants in my house and I'm just like dancing with them and singing with them and they look so great. Like I gave them some haircuts, and the neighbor who gifted them to me because she was clearing out her place, it was so perfect. She came over and she almost cried. She was like, they look so good. And I was like, yeah. So it's like, receive the gift fully. Like let it, like, fuck patriarchy and the idea that we're not supposed to have pleasure and we're not supposed to feel good to receive unexpected gifts. Like that's being tested right now. And I just want to give everyone permission to like fully receive it, not deflect by saying I'm sorry, not deflect by receiving a compliment, immediately having to give one back, not deflect by getting a gift and not opening it. Like,
or I don't have time to receive it, or
right, just like stop deflecting.
I'm too busy, but really I'm not, you know, like, you know what I mean? Like everybody says they're always so busy. That's very Saturn and Capricorn. Like I have so many things. I'm building this, I'm building that. And it's like, how much time are you really just sitting there and just kind of.
And the opposite side of the same coin is when you say yes to everything because you're afraid of the day the gift doesn't come.
Right.
It's like, also be willing to say no if it's something you authentically won't receive and enjoy. If you won't appreciate it, it's okay. You don't have to receive every gift. So
I agree.
I just want to make that discerning thing true as well. I love that we're talking about this because right now it is the name of the game is receptive mode, of being receptive, of and like genuine receptivity of like, is it really authentically like something I desire and I'll love and I'll receive?
Well, I appreciate you and I receive you very much, and always being here with me on the journey together, giving this info to people. I'm going to allow the toilet right now to receive the gift of my urine because I have to pee very bad. And that's going to make me feel better, and I am excited for that. I'm always so excited when I have you on. I'm always so excited when all these amazing people showed up. I mean, we have over 400 people in here.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I just want to say thank you. And that we love you. And of course, check out Sarah. All of her links are down below. Sarah, I think _ Paasch, right? Paasch.
Paa, yeah. That's right. Yeah.
With everything, I try to give it a little bit of a bang.
Yeah, totally.
And of course, highvibe.tv. And we're on Instagram too, at highvibe.tv or highvibe.tv. And thanks so much for being here. There's a lot going on with this new moon. Of course, we're doing spiritual dance music. We got a lot going on. Check us out. Check out Sarah's stories too. She does a daily thing on her stuff. It's awesome. I always love her stuff. Check her stuff out. She's got some awesome stuff on Instagram she's doing every day.
Thank you, David.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, thank you.
And thank you all. Love you very much. See you in the next After Dark.
Dylan might be back.
Oh yeah, Dylan might be back.